to be sincere, it has done a lot, because immediately I finished the training, I knew that it was time to move from my former place of work. And I said, running up my CV, I told myself it was time to move. And then even before I got my exam, accreditation and all that, I told myself, you have to, push on your CV and start moving. And immediately my exam came out, was one of the things that gave me that push, because the interviewers asked me, say, yes, I have my AFM, and then they asked me a few things on financial modeling. I was able to answer, and then I got the job. Thank you. Okay, hi, my name is Gloria Odova. I'm a chartered accountant. I work as a tax manager at Darby Industries, Ladipo. I joined the company this year in 2024 as the admin tax manager. Okay, so I belong to the ICANN tax platform. So I think it was pasted there last year. So it's something I've been planning to do, but I never had the opportunity and a good platform to train for it. So immediately I saw the post, I just knew this was the opportunity to go out. I wanted to train or get a good training of financial modeling, but I didn't have good information or a good platform to go about the training. So when it was posted on ICANN tax platform, I saw it as a good opportunity to go ahead and train for it. Okay, I expected to, after the training, to be good with my financial modeling skills and all that. During the training, I wasn't so, I expected a physical structure, where you come for the training, but then I saw that everything was done virtual. At first, I was a bit skeptical, but then the short videos that Mr. David was putting up, it was interesting, because anyone that I don't understand, I would just quickly go back, slowly look at them and then get a grip of it before I could go to the next video. So at the time I got used to it, and it started flowing, and then I started getting used to it. So it became very interesting over time.
I got new opportunity because shortly before the exam, I got a new role. That was when I started my new role at CyberSoc Africa. I remember during the interview, I really made case out of financial modeling and leading a finance team, right? And well, unfortunately, I was going to use it. I wanted to use it in my previous work, which was at Nine Payment Service Bank. But yes, this juicy role came in and was really, really helpful. FMA was really helpful in getting that role, because now I have to really participate and help the organization in project financing. My name is Samuel George, AFM, ACA. Currently, I work at CyberSoc Africa. At CyberSoc Africa, I'm currently the finance manager for Nigeria. How I heard about the FMA was when I was really researching on how to grow myself within the investment banking space and know more about investment, and wanted to learn financial modeling thoroughly. And I came across D Brown. Although I have known D Brown for a very long time, we met ICANN level space. So I enrolled for a financial modeling academy last year. So it was from there the FMA stuff really came out, and I told myself, okay, I think I would really love to go for this course. And one of the major reasons was because FMA was the major reason. Sitting for AFM exam was the major reason I did a course with Dave Brown last year, but I couldn't have the exam. But luckily for me, FMA came up, scholarship came up, and I tapped into it, and now today I'm an FMA. Yeah, it was really a sweet experience. Honestly, it was a beautiful experience in the sense that because it was self-paced, we have some self-paced classes, and and it was really good. Explanations of basic principles was very clear, and especially when we got to the part of step by step of passing AFN exam was really wonderful. And I honestly appreciate the fact that that we actually had classes that we teach you how to build financial modeling for real life setting, and we had the one that would really help you to pass AFN exams. I think that is really, really cool for me. For some, maybe it's possible in some places, they will just teach you on how to pass the exam. And once you pass the exam, you are good. Then after passing the exam, you are now coming back to face real life situation. But right now, okay, I honestly can fix into real life situation.
All right, all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let me know where you're connecting from. So I'm connecting from Lagos, Nigeria. Let me know where you're connecting from. Okay. Let me see where you're connecting from. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about, will AI replace financial modelers? What do you think? The answer is yes or no? No maybes, yes or no, right? Yes or no in the chat. Let me see. Do you think AI will replace financial modelers? Well, I can give a very short answer. Absolutely not. In fact, I think there's going to be more work for financial modelers going forward. A lot more work, and I'm going to explain why. So I've been running various tests on models on AI. AI is absolutely amazing. Let me put that out there first. Absolutely amazing, right? So AI is going to augment financial modelers, not replace them. But guess who will be replaced? Those people that refuse to, or maybe probably don't know, I don't know where you are, maybe you're under a rock somewhere, that don't want to use financial modeling AI for some reason, right? And not using AI to enhance and augment and supercharge 10x what it is that they do when it comes to financial modeling. So I think those people will be at risk of replacement, right? So I think that's what would happen. So what is financial modeling really? What is financial modeling? What does financial modeling do, right? For those that don't know, so you have, when you're building a model, you're basically trying to replicate reality in a spreadsheet, right? Okay, here we have Alex from Ogun State. Hi, Alex. You're trying to replicate your reality in a spreadsheet. Now, but you're trying to help organizations make better data-driven decisions when you're forecasting their performance going forward, right? And typically, depending on who you're building the model for, you have various requirements, you have various needs, but you have various outputs or key outputs that your user of the model wants to be able to answer. So knowing what that key output is very essential. And then you build a model to answer those questions that you asked at the beginning. Now, why is it called financial model? Is because their outputs are usually financial statements. You have your profit or loss account, your cash flow statement, your balance sheet. Those are the standard financial statements that you get from building a financial model. And then you have many other adjacent statements and many other things that come out of that. For example, you could build out a valuation, pulling out some information from your P&L and balance sheet, and forecasting going forward, right? You need to understand what is the risk, what are the risk elements, what's the growth, how are we going to grow in going forward, and what are those cash flows that are involved. So modeling is very vast, and here we're going to look at a few things. I'm going to look at some tests that I've done, but before that, let me just give you an example of how deep modeling is, right? So if you take a project finance model, for example, what does a financial modeler do? So a financial modeler, I think, cuts across every single stakeholder in a project finance model, requires the inputs of a financial modeler. You need to be able to show that every stakeholder in this project finance model will benefit from the project, right? And because everybody has the benefits. When people don't benefit from the project, they will probably not approve that project at the end of the day. Now, when I say project finance models, these are typically building models for deals, mainly infrastructure deals, very large infrastructure deals that require probably a special purpose vehicle. You need to create a legal entity, and that legal entity is what's going to house the deal. But this deal is very specific in the sense that there's absolutely no assets already existing. Right? There's no historical assets like a corporate finance model. A corporate finance model is where you're building for an existing corporation and they already have a balance sheet. They probably have financials that they've already published, right? Which you can then build a model from those published financials. That's corporate finance model. A project finance model, you're saying, hey, this project, we're going to build a toll road, or we're going to do a massive solar farm, and we're going to have all this power generated by this solar farm, and these cash flows are going to come out, and so please come and invest, right? Or you get a sponsor, and the sponsor says, yes, we're going to build this out. We're going to get a contractor to kind of build it out, and the contractor has a background of knowing what to do and how to build these massive solar farms. Have done it before, and then so you will need a lot of people to come together to agree that this is a good idea, and some off-taker, somebody that says, hey, I'm going to buy all that power you're going to produce, right? And if I guarantee that I'm buying it, it's usually the government, right? I guarantee that I'm buying that power, or for developing countries, usually the government, but I'm going to buy all that power they're going to produce in the next 20 years after construction. But then, of course, you need to build the whole thing. You need to construct, build that solar farm, right? And that needs money. So where are you going to get financing from? You need financing from debt, maybe banks, or you probably do a bond, or you probably go to DFI. So you have different sources of funds, right? And then the equity providers. What's that mix going to be? What's the debt to equity mix? At the end of the day, you're putting that risk down, probably for, let's say, 20 months. You build the thing, and then cash flows start coming after. And it's those cash flows that come after that determine whether or not this whole project is profitable. Is it profitable for the debt holders? Is it profitable for the equity holders? All the advisors, are they going to be paid? Do you get? So that's typically what a project finance model looks at. And I've given you a structure here. Let me just, this is from one of our project finance courses. So you have the SPV, these are just the legend. You've got this color coding, you'll be able to understand it. You have your SPV in the center. Then you have all these financiers, right? Where does financing come from? It can come from senior lenders. It can come from mezzanine lenders, which is subordinated debt. So someone that says, hey, I'm going to give you a loan, but I can convert that loan to equity later, right? So those are, you can say, mezzanine lenders. Then you have, of course, your export credit agencies. You have your development finance institutions, your multilateral development banks. You have the bond investors. So all of these are where the money is going to come from. Now, as a financial modeler, you need to know this. You need to read those cases. You need to read the legal documents, understand covenants and all of that. So why am I showing you this? Because when it comes to, hey, will AI replace financial modelers? Most of us think of a financial model. Excel. I'm coming to the Excel very soon. But I want to tell you, there's a lot more to do than just Excel, right? So this is a project finance model. Who are financing it? You need to understand. Who are the EPC contractors? That is the engineering, procurement, and construction. And what are all the cash flows related to that EPC contractor? Who are the operations, maintenance, and performance people? Who are those? Are they going to be the sponsor, or is it a special contractor that we're going to hire, right? There are cash flows involved there. Who is the sponsor? Right? How much equity is the sponsor bringing? If the debt is bringing 70 or 80%, then the rest is coming from equity, right? So what mix is best? Who is going to buy whatever it is you're supplying? Who is going to be that big off-taker, that customer? So if it's a power project, the power purchase agreement needs to be written. Toll project, you have your toll agreements, concession agreements, take-or-pay contracts, all sorts of stuff, right? Now, every single thing I said is almost like an option, isn't it? So a modeler needs to understand those options and model those options. And what I'm going to show you is a project finance, some tests that I've been doing with AI, and some places it did excellently well, and some places it failed and failed and failed. In fact, I'm going to show you where it's failed so much that I asked it to do a self-evaluation. I asked AI to do a self-evaluation and evaluate itself. So you're going to see AI's detailed self-evaluation that it did. I think probably last week I did that with AI or some time ago. I'll show you its own self-evaluation. Then you can see what limitations it has when it comes to actually building models. But here I'm telling you, financial modelers is not just building models. There's a lot more we do. All right. So you have inputs and suppliers. That's another section. Then you have all these advisors that you also need to kind of bring into the whole project finance mix, right? You have your security trustees, your legal advisors, your technical advisors, your insurance, your ESG advisors, your marketing, market consultants who want to do the study. And of course, the most important advisors of all is the financial modelers, right? Who are the financial advisors. And everybody has money-related issues, right? Or money-related payments. So the financial advisors kind of see everything. Then I have your key documentations that you will need in the project finance model. Common term agreements, facility agreement, security agreement, direct agreement. And then, of course, you have your cash flow waterfall. And this is a very detailed list. You won't have this in all projects. But I'm giving you a big picture view of one of the most important financial models that you can build, which is a project finance model. So I'll show you how AI got through this, and probably I'll show you a corporate finance model. So what we're going to do is this. I am going to give you another highlight. Yes, AI will not replace financial modelers, but a financial modeler who uses AI will replace one who doesn't. That one is very clear, right? If you're not using AI now, or start using AI now and start understanding how to use it in depth, you most likely are going to be replaced, right? So, right. This is a small schematic I just showed. This is your typical approach to building a model. You first have to define your KPIs, or define the key question that the model needs to answer. So you're building a model. Why are you building a model? What's that key question the model needs to answer? Identify the model outputs, right? So what are those outputs that are going to help answer that key question, right? So you interview your clients, you interview internally and understand, okay, what's that key question the model needs to answer? Oh, we want to sell our company. Or the key question is, how much are we worth, right? How much are we worth? And to know how much we're worth, you need to do evaluation, right? So an output will be, okay, we're going to do evaluation, different valuations, maybe a DCF, maybe equity valuation, or some kind of valuation anyway. And then you then be able to find out how much we're worth, right? Or a range of values, right? You need to identify, okay, what are the inputs that go into this calculations to get my valuation, right? If that's your key question the model needs to answer. Then you need to now develop all the logical connections between those inputs. Understand the logic. And then once you do that understanding, really everything I've mentioned is your detailed specification document. You would have got that in detail, understand what the client needs, do detailed specification, then you build your model. So you can see building the model is very important, but it's just a piece of the puzzle, right? Then you need to then enter data assumptions into your model. Where do you get the data assumptions, all the research? I typically will take a proxy company that already exists and then break it down and see what drives it, what the drivers are and stuff like that. Some of you that are here that have probably done our financial modeling academy, you know how to restructure the financials of a company, take the financials and tear it apart and go to the notes to the account and all of that to dig out information, right? And then you then need to test your scenarios and sensitivities, and then you do your reporting, presentation, and you finalize the model, right? In between all of this, you're brainstorming, you're collecting data, you're doing model audit and quality assurance. So this is your typical financial modeling approach. And I can tell you, AI does extremely well in nearly every part of this. But if you want to use AI, at the end of the day, AI is going to produce something beautiful, right? But who audits it? So what I'm going to do is this. There's another webinar coming up later, a couple of weeks, I think, where we're going to do head-to-head, a detailed head-to-head of model build. But I'm going to do a mini head-to-head right now. I'm going to kind of come up here. And I'm going to show you, is this Fed manufacturing? Is that what we're going to use? Okay, let me see. I'm going to show you something we do in our course, right? So we have this, we have on D. Brown Consulting, if you're done our Financial Modeling Academy, you will know that you usually have to do exams. By the way, exams are coming up in a couple of days. Is it tomorrow, right? Who is writing an exam? Type in the chat. Who is writing an exam and watching right now, watching this webinar? I think you're writing an exam tomorrow, really, virtually tomorrow. Who is writing an exam? Let me know. I probably advise you not to watch this webinar and go and read. Go and build your models, man. Go do your mock exam. These mocks, how many have you done? So typically our students go through lots of mock exams. So let's pick one. Let's pick one mock exam. This is just page 1 per wave. So we're going to pick this one. Let's pick this mock exam, right? So our students typically do this. Let me download this. All right, just download this. Okay, I think I have already. Okay, and I'll download the historicals. Save. I think I downloaded the solution already. And this is the question itself, right? So let's, open a new. Okay, let's download this question. Let's see. Okay, so pure wave SIP. Okay, right. So typically we try and get our students to build a model within 3.5 hours, right? The exam itself from the Financial Modeling Institute. The Financial Modeling Institute, let me tell you who they are. The Financial Modeling Institute, FM Institute. So Financial Modeling Institute is the only accreditation body for financial modeling globally. And they do exams. They test you something similar to what we have. So what you have here, they'll give you historical financials, and you need to build a 3-statement financial model from scratch in only 4 hours, right? And you're given historical financials, and you're given something similar to what I have here, right? So you're given historical financials, you have your case here, you say, hey, Pearl Wave SIPS is a world leader in manufacturing and marketing carbonated drinks, and company provide blah, blah, blah. So you have the financial model, you have the sales, details of the sales and everything, variable cost, fixed cost and stuff. And then you're meant to build this model in 3 hours, right? So we're going to give AI to build this, right? We give it this instructions and say, hey, build this model. Let's see what it does. Now, while it's doing that, I don't think it's this one. While it's, let me get to the file. Let's quickly get the file to build this model. Let's see. So Purview Solutions, no, historicals. Okay. So I'm opening the file, and I'm going to show you some things that AI did, that AI messed up on. I'm going to show you that soon. It's a project finance model, and AI had some interesting issues around that. So, but anyway, this is the exam. So this is the model for SIPS. What we're going to do is I'm going to go to the Home tab, and to the right, you see Claude, right? And at the bottom right, if you're using Office 365, you see the Office 365 button. And this Office 365 button, I click it, you'll see that this is Office 365. And one beautiful thing Office 365 has done recently is you can choose what, or Copilot has done, Copilot in Office 365, you can choose what the model, which model to use. By the way, I didn't even introduce myself. Wow, I'm just excited to share this stuff with you. I am David Brown. I'm the managing partner of D. Brown Consulting. I'm a Microsoft MVP on Excel and Copilot. I am also a master trainer, master instructional designer. I'm a very proud member of the Global Financial Modeling Council by the Financial Modeling Institute. And I have many other hats, but right now I'm a financial modeler because that's what I love. I've been building models for 25 years. Yeah, about 25 years. And teaching Excel for 30 years, probably. I do a lot of data analytics as well. Okay, so that's me. You can check me out on LinkedIn and the rest. Okay, so let's jump in. So this is a model. What we're going to do is we're going to tell AI to go build it. We'll come back and see what it did, right? But I want to talk to you in general about other things as well. And then we're going to see how AI failed. So, so I can actually click on Claude as well. See, this is Claude. This is Claude. I can give it instructions to build. And this is Copilot. Now, Copilot recently, under the auto, you can actually pick either a GPT, which is OpenAI GPT, or you can click on Claude. You can pick one of these models, Claude model or GPT. So I want you to decide. We're just going to use one. In the later, when we do another webinar, we're going to do a head-to-head. We're going to do a Claude versus OpenAI, right? Claude versus ChatGPT. We're going to do a head-to-head. We'll give you the model and see step by step how they think through building the process, right? So on the chat, tell me, who do you want us to use? Claude or Copilot? Claude or OpenAI, ChatGPT? ChatGPT or Claude? Choose. Which model do you want? Type it in the chat and I'll pick it, okay? Meanwhile, let me get back to my slides, and I've shown you the process, right? The process of modeling. Can AI do a lot of this? Yes, it can. AI puts to the test. I'm going to basically show you, I put AI to the test on certain things, right? I asked it, I gave it a project finance model. Let me show you the model I gave it. So I gave it a project finance model, and this project finance model is pretty detailed, right? So I built it to an XA level, and then I created a bug. I created a, let's say, there was a secular reference issue in the model, right? And then I asked AI to find it. AI went through different hoops and couldn't find it. But this is a typical project finance model. It's not only that, I also gave AI a half-built project finance model, and then I asked it to complete it. Right, so and I'll show you the completed one and see what it is. So a typical project finance model has timings, very important, escalators, revenue, O&M costs, construction, and you can see it should be beautifully set out, very neat and tidy. Oh, this is not neat and tidy, this N is. Okay, let's see what this is. This is, oh, okay, let's see, any, it's not neat and tidy, guys. That's be neat and tidy, right? So anyway, so you have this. And then you have tax, you have financial statements, you have term loan, you have share capital, you have key metrics, you have VBA, circularity management, right? So this is typically a model, right? And one important bit in the model is timing, right? Your start time, your end time, your period flag, and your counter. You typically have timings, what I call, you have the dot timing, you have the band timing, and then you have the beat, dot, band, beat. So the dot is basically a timing on one particular timeline, one specific time within the timeline that it starts. Let me use operations, it's kind of better. Operations. So if you look at operations, for example, the dot flag will be one start date. When did operations start? Oh, here it is. Operations started here, right? When did operations end? Operations ended all the way. It's just a dot. Then you have a band. The band is basically, okay, what is the operations period? The operations period is from the start to the end. Now, these timings are so important in project finance, right? And then you have counters to count 1, 2, 3s, right? So these timings are so important, right? And then, of course, you have your annual financial statement. You have your annual financial statement where you can then do a comparison against a case, and then you have your probably a typical dashboard. It's just a quick, easy dashboard where you're comparing your live model, which against which is a P10 model with gearing, equity first, and level payments against your base model. Now, AI is not too good at creating all these combo boxes. It doesn't really create them. AI also doesn't do a VBA. The VBA bit, it just can't go to the VBA, that is developer, and create those Visual Basic circularity calculations. It needs your help there when I did the tests. But let me tell you, when I created a kind of a circular, let me show you the circular reference. Let me go to the AI tool. So AI, I did it, asked it to do a report card, but I created a circularity somewhere, one deliberate circular error. Let me see where that is. Formulas should show the error. Circular, there's a circular reference error. Yeah, the circular reference somewhere. Okay, this was the AI powered one. I also asked AI to actually build from scratch, not from scratch, from where I started. I'll come to this now, but I want to see this circular. I think this circular is stopping me from seeing that circular, so I'm just going to save as and change it up a bit so that we can see what I'm trying to say. Desktop. Okay, let's just save this. I'll come back to the AI shortcuts. AI likes to take shortcuts when it builds models, right? as any financial modeler knows, you don't take shortcuts when you build models. You need to know what you're doing. You need to always know what you're doing. So there's nothing like shortcuts. You can't take shortcuts. So let's go to the desktop. I'm going to save this. I'll open it again, and then you'll see the error. Okay, so let's close. Right, and then so let's now open up this. That's OTO. I do not want any enable. Okay, good. So let's open desktop. Okay, so we're going to open up the investigation that we did on Circular, or the AI is supposed to have done on Circular. And I asked the AI to report itself why it failed. Why did it fail? And so if you look at it, there is a Circular reference. And typically, as a modeler, when you build a model, you usually will get a help from Excel. Excel will tell you when there's a Circular reference. By the way, what is a Circular reference? I know some people say, what's this guy talking about? What's Circular reference? Circular reference is when something is referring to itself. So typically, you have, let's say you have something like this. You have sales and you have commission or something. So you have sales of 100, commission of 10%, or should I say interest, not commission, maybe interest expense. Or maybe I'll just call this a overdraft. Overdraft, you have an overdraft, and then you have interest expense, right? So if you have interest expense of 10%, or interest rate of 10%, interest rate, not interest expense, interest rate of 10%, right? Now, what does that mean? This means that your total overdraft is not really, overdraft is like you owe the bank. You owe the bank 100, but if your interest rate is 10%, you probably owe the bank what? You owe the bank 110, the total interest expense. Now, again, this Circular, I need to close it since this Circular guy is causing problems, right? Let me close him so that you can actually see what a Circular reference is. Where is, okay, let me just copy this and close this. Let's close it. I don't want a Circular to disturb my explanation to you. So let me explain what a Circular is. So typically in a model, you have Circular references during interest calculation. So if I had interest of 10%, then my interest expense is going to be what? It's going to be equal to 100 times 10%. So my actual overdraft balance is what? You can typically say it's going to be equal to 100 plus 10, right? So this is my overdraft balance, 100 plus 10. But the problem is this is not my overdraft balance, because if, let's assume, just make it simple, right? This 10% is owed, isn't it? So your overdraft is actually 110. But if I say my interest expense or my interest rate is 10%, then I'm going to have to calculate another interest expense, isn't it? My interest expense is going to basically be equal to this 110 times 10%, right? And which is 11, which means my interest expense is not 10, it's supposed to be 11. And if it's 11, then our actual overdraft is going to be what? Equal to 100 plus 11, which is 111, not 110. But if it is 111, then my interest expense should be 111 times 10%, right? But 111 times 10% is 11.1, which means my actual overdraft is equal to 100 plus the interest, which is 11, and we continue that way. So everything, you can see I've done this many times. This is, if I want to do this easily, all I need to do is this. I should just say, hey, do you know what? Yes, we have 100 overdraft and we have 10%. And my interest expense, or my interest expense, if I say interest expense or interest expense is equal to interest expense is something, and then my actual overdraft is equal to this 100 plus my interest expense, right? That's what it is. But my interest expense, it shouldn't be calculating on 100. It should calculate on this 110, isn't it? 110, which should be my answer. So I say, hey, my interest expense, this is my interest expense, going to be the answer multiplied by the percentage, 110. So this will cause a circular reference because here we're saying that overdraft is equal to overdraft plus interest expense, but interest expense is equal to the actual overdraft times the percentage. So it's referring to itself. It's referring to itself. Now, to solve this, there are two ways to solve it in Excel. The two ways to solve it is you come to your Excel options, you go to formulas, and then if you remember, if you look at this, how many times did I calculated it? 1, 2, 3 times. And I'm almost getting to the right answer after three attempts. So if I tell Excel, that's called an iteration. So I tell Excel, do 3 iterations or do maybe 5 iterations, right? And I click OK, it will solve this, right? It will, if you click on F9, if I click on this, it should solve this, right? It should automatically solve it. Let me go to and enable it. I didn't enable it, sorry. So I have to enable it and say, okay, then it will solve it. Look at it. Can you see it got the 11.1 straight away, right? After doing 3 iterations internally. After doing the 3 iterations internally. So it solves it. So that is what a circular reference does. In modeling, we have circular references, right? So this is a very simple one. You understand that. So now let's go to what our AI did, right? So go to our AI. Let's see. AI powered AI. Where's the AI failure? AI investigation. So I asked it to kind of review itself. So what AI did is it didn't find the circular problem. There was a circular reference error. There was a circular error, but it couldn't find it. It didn't find that circular reference. So, and when I asked it to investigate, it kept on doing various things. So when you use AI, it's going to do logs. It's going to explain what it did. It's going to kind of explain all the things it did. These are all the attempts on AI trying to find that error. There was a circular reference error here. AI was trying to find it. Let me remove my enable iterations. Let me change this back to the default of 100 and say, okay, now you see there's a circular reference here. And the circular reference really came about by, if I go to my guide sheet, you will see that there is typically coming from here saying the total assets during construction is not the same as the model sheet. But at the end of the day, the circular reference was kind of flowing through all sorts of places. Now, if you think this was the problem, if you delete it, you see there's still another circular reference coming from somewhere else. So it's a big issue. And the actual finding of this circular reference, the thing I deliberately did was I put this text box in here and in a wrong place because there are some calculations that required you to look at the entire start date. You know, when you're doing a sum if, let me show you where the error was. When you're doing a sum if here, see the sum if, it looks at the entire model 104, the model M, the actual sum of the total construction cost, is looking at total construction cost monthly, and then it's comparing that, is comparing my start date, which is this start date up here, July 1st, and saying all the construction costs in my monthly model from 1st of July to 31st of September. I want to see it here. I want to sum it. Because in my monthly model, you can see it's monthly, but my annual model, or my model here is quarterly. This is my quarterly model, right? Quarterly model. So there was an issue around summing. So it couldn't, why couldn't it work? Because I looked at the entire row. So I'm saying, hey, go and look at this entire row and go find the dates that are greater than or equal to whatever is in this row, and also less than or equal to what is in this row. So AI couldn't audit that. And let me show you what it said, why it said it couldn't audit. So look at this. Where AI genuinely helps, before I go into the audits, these are, from my research, AI does extremely well on specifications for client meetings. So you have a client meeting, you probably recorded that client meeting, you have a transcription of that client meeting. You and AI can go back and forth and understand the specifications even deeper. And you can probably train a skill. There's something called training a skill in Claude or a Codex, and train AI on how to work like you, and constantly train it. And as it learns, you tell it, okay, all my discussions with you, update your skill. So it's something like that. So as you're doing specifications with AI, you can get it to update its skill. Then brainstorming on idea validation, domain expertise. You have your own domain expertise. You can brainstorm with AI, but you need to have your domain expertise. Then getting first drafts of your final documentation, excellent. Model documentation, excellent. Model building, it's good, but it still has errors. And unfortunately for the non-modelers, you must be a modeler to find those errors. And if you're not a modeler, you don't have domain expertise, you won't find those errors, like this one I'm showing you here. So this is where AI failed. Timing inconsistency. It didn't use timing. It decided to just build the model without those timing flags for project finance. So it ignored timing. It didn't follow left to right consistency. It did a little bit of hard coding. And then, of course, the circular reference detection was a problem. So I'll go into the circular reference detection and see, okay, where can we find, where did it have issues in this circular reference? I asked it to, this was its log. Anytime Claude is working on a system, it puts a log. So I told it to do an investigation by itself, do an internal investigation of why did you fail? So this was my prompt, right? I asked it, I said, decode in plain English why there is a circular reference generated by computing a sum in blah, blah, blah. This is what AI did. The AI traced the full dependency chain. Pretty good. This is really good work. It went through all the dependencies and stuff, the tolerance levels and everything. And then you had formula examined. These are all the formulas it examined. Then it did an identifying the financial cost circularity that already exists in the model. That's the financing cost that was already built. We used VBA to solve one other circularity. It found that. But then it incorrectly, this is AI given an audit report. I asked AI, give you an audit report of yourself. Why did you fail? So it said incorrectly concluded that I-150 circular reference was related to the financing cost loop explained by the VBA macro which we created. Failed there, missed it. Then I told it, hey, you're wrong. Do it again, right? So I have so I told it I've solved the previous circularity with the VBA code. What I need help with is the new circularity reference triggered by inserting a formula in cell I-50 and linking this recon formula to blah, blah, blah. That's me talking to AI, isn't it, right? Asking it to do a better job. AI failed again, still missed the root cause. It continued to miss the root causes until I now told it the answer at the end. And then it now found it, right? It continued, so it was wrong 6 times, right? If you like to see this file, I probably should send you this report file. Investigation is very, very important. So after lots of attempts by AI, it failed. And then I now asked it to tell me why did it fail. So this is the circular reference chain. It found that nicely. Then root cause analysis. It did a root cause analysis. It said why it was hard to find. It now explained why it was hard for it to find it. And this is very important to understand why AI in the current state as of today, being the 8th of May, what it can't do, right? So I asked it to then do a small summary. So let's go to the summary at the end. So this is the summary at the end. It says, lessons learned. What did AI learn? Whole reference create invisible dependencies. These are the lessons that AI learned, why it can do stuff. Whole row references create invisible dependencies, right? So when it has whole, because why? Because AI Claude traces formulas dependencies by parsing formula text. It does cell by cell analysis. That's how AI works in Excel, cell by cell. So when you have a dependency that's an entire row, you highlight the entire row, it fails to find that. Circular reference can produce correct looking values. So another issue it had is my secular reference. If you look at the model, let me go to the model, on my guide sheet. So what I do in the guide sheet is I try and make sure that this is 0. If this is 1, if I type 1 here, you will see it makes a highlight error. But when you have a secular reference typically results to 0. And 0 is really what I needed here. So it saw 0 here and said, oh, that's okay. It's not an error, because it's true. 0 is not an error, right? So that's okay. So you didn't think that there was an error when it came to the text, right? You didn't think, since there's 0 here, then there's no problem, because the error kept coming here and it saw 0 is good. So why is there an error? So it failed to understand that bit. Secular reference can produce correct looking values. Then it says that the JS, the API, has blind spots. The Office API that it's using, because it uses an Office API to do all this modeling, Excel.application returned calculate state of done with no errors. The API does not expose the secular reference list that the desktop client shows. What it's trying to say in English is, if you go to model, you as a human being can see this image, but from the API, it won't show this, right? And then if you go to formulas, formulas and go to error checking and go to secular, you see the list of secular error, the chain of secular errors. So it won't see this. This is basically what you see in your graphic user interface, right? This is your GUI. But in the coding, back-end coding, you won't see this visual. So that's what it's found, that there's some blind spots, right? Then you have status. The label cells in data rows are designed anti-pattern. The status label, okay, the status label. Well, all it's saying here is that the status label, because I have this cell here, it's just a label. And for every modeler, you know that a label typically is not connected to a calculation, right? So since this label is not connected to a calculation, it shouldn't cause a secular reference. So it already assumed that, but unfortunately, where I placed the label, which is in here, affected the calculation because I had highlighted the entire row, and it just couldn't understand that. One important thing about modeling, right, or AI in general, is AI is going to significantly help our thinking, but I can tell you for free, it won't help or change our understanding. So our understanding as humans is so much more superior than AI's understanding. And I'm going to do a quick test at the end. I'm going to give everybody here a simple quiz that I'm sure you will get instantly. AI will fail. AI has always failed on this quiz unless they patched it, but AI will fail on that simple quiz or question, right? That's just to tell you that AI, when it comes to understanding, you are the boss. When it comes to thinking and doing all sorts of wonderful creativity, AI is excellent, but you remain the boss of understanding. But you can't understand financial modeling without building and knowing financial modeling. You need to learn. You need to go do the financial modeling certification, right? Go and do that exam and get that financial modeling skill, all right? So AI failed here. What was the last thing it saw? It saw, this is so funny when I read it. Listen to the user sooner. Let me rephrase that. Listen to the domain expert financial modeler sooner. All right. So this is AI admitting it didn't listen to me, right? The user told, this is Claude reporting itself. It said the user told Claude 3 times, you put 3 in capital. This thing is so funny. Three times that a secular reference existed. Turn 3, G95 closes the loop. Turn 5, deleting something doesn't break it. Turn 6, this is AI trying 6 times and failing, right? There is a secular. How come you can't see it? Each time Claude reran the same formula scanning approach and concluded no secular found. The user's observations were correct throughout. Claude's method was flawed. Now, it takes modelers, right, domain experts, to keep testing AI to be able to find those little flaws. If you don't know modeling, unfortunately, this may happen to you. You may make a big wrong decision with the wrong model that AI built for you. AI can build 90%, AI can do 99% excellently, But as we know, as financial modelers, that 1% kills the project. You need to be 100% accurate in your modeling, 100%. There is no middle ground, 100%. So while AI is going to significantly augment our financial modeling skills, it will not replace the experienced modeler, right? So someone that doesn't know modeling and just relies on AI, you're at significant risk. But someone that knows modeling, guess what? You can build 10 models in the same time it took you to build, let's say, 3. You can quadruple your efficiency and productivity. So this was AI report card. It basically didn't find the model, right? It didn't find the error. And that's one. I'm going to close this. And then I don't know what you've decided, which model. I wasn't reading the comments. Which model do you say we should use for this case? GPT, okay, on GPT. So I'm going to use GPT 5.4, and then I'm going to tell it to, I'm going to attach the instructions. This may not end because, you know, I told you we're going to do another webinar where we're going to do this in detail head-to-head. So I'm just going to attach this to it and tell it to build the model based on these instructions, right? So let's put comments. Hi. I like to say hi every time. Please use the model historicals in this sheet, the model sheet, and this attached instructions to build this financial model, okay, or something like that, right? So very simple instructions. I could just have told it, hey, build this financial model with these instructions or something. Okay, so I'll leave it to do its work. It will start building. I'm sorry, but there was an error in processing the request. Oof. Okay, there was an error in processing the request. All right. Okay, why was there an error? Let me upload the file. Didn't I upload, or maybe I didn't upload, right? Uploading from the device will send copy to OneDrive. Oh, okay. I already have it opened, right? So it wants me to close it. Okay, so let me close the case, the file itself, right? So this file, I saw it open, didn't want it open. Okay, so this is the case we're wanting it to build. One of our case studies in our Financial Modeling Academy. By the way, if you want to join the academy, it's we have the academy starting in a few weeks. So Financial Modeling Academy, just go to D Brown Consulting, right? Go to D Brown Consulting, go to training, then go to what's it called? Financial Modeling Academy, where Financial Modeling Academy, you see all the details, depending on which scholarship you want to get. If you're resident anywhere in Africa, if you're a student of an institution that we have validated, or if you're anywhere outside Africa, you choose whichever one you want, and then you get the details and you register for the next cohort starting in June, right? Early June. So register. Wonderful Financial Modeling Institute and D Brown Consulting brought a massive scholarship. It's amazing what you can get in this. So go read it and check it out. Someone will share the links for you wherever you're watching this. Okay. So I've closed this. So let's see if it's going to accept my prompt. Let's see. If it doesn't, I'm going to use Claude. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Let's go to Claude directly. Click the same instructions. I'm not using Opus. Let's use Sonnet. Opus is too freaking expensive, right? It's stealing all my money. Let's see. So I'm attaching this and I'm asking Claude to build. So Claude, I don't know what happened to Copilot, but again, as I told you, we're going to do a head-to-head. We're going to do Claude Copilot head-to-head. Don't miss that session, right? So see what it's saying. It's basically reading what I said, and it's going to build the model, right? It's going to build. Let me start by reading the current model sheet and attach instructions to understand what's there. I can see the historicals now. Let me read the cell formula, blah, 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 blah. Right? So it's reading. Yeah. Okay, so it's temporary unavailable. Okay, I can see the historical data, the model. What should the projection build include? 3 forecasts. Okay, so I couldn't see the instructions. This instructions bit. So maybe there was an issue, right, with the instructions. So what I can do is just copy and paste, right? Let me copy and paste the instructions. Typically, it should work. There shouldn't be any problem. Okay, no, this is let's open the instructions. Okay, desktop. Okay. So I'm just going to do Control A, Control C, and I'll say, let me see something else. Skip, stop. Here are the instructions. You don't know how it's going to look, but you know it's pretty smart. So if I dump it, it will know what to do. I'm just going to dump everything there, right? It's smart enough to kind of realize that. Yep, it's reading the historicals to do its thing. Let's get back to our slides while it's doing its thing. All right. So the timing and hard coding, we saw problems around timing. It didn't really use timings properly, and the model decided to just build for operations. So when instead of building your project finance model left to right fully, it just built for the sections that it needed. It wasn't left to right consistent. Not very good. And there were some hard codings, right? It just decided to put some hard coded numbers into the formulas. This is a cardinal sin. You can't say 1000 times 1.05. You have to say cell B5 times input sheet, cell C12 in the input sheet, or something like that, right? So it did this, and again, it's difficult to find if you're not a modeler to find these issues, right? It's kind of difficult. So again, I talked about left to right consistency. You have your pre-close, your financial close, your construction, your operations, and it decided to build only in the operations section. It just builds for operations. The construction section, it builds for construction. It doesn't make it left to right consistent, which means when you change your timing, it won't build it correctly. It doesn't incorporate proper timing in the modeling, right? Circular reference detection, we've already seen this issue. So these are issues I've seen. 90% of the model, perfect. But as I said, as a modeler, you need 100%. There's no 90%. This was a circular reference chain. It got the chain right. It got the chain right, but it just couldn't understand why there was a circular, because internally it does cell by cell computation. So it doesn't see ranges, the entire range, all the row. If you highlight the entire row and it's part of a circular, it gets confused. So it admitted that confusion, right? So again, this was why I couldn't find that after the 5 structured lessons was whole row references create invisible dependencies. Circular reference can produce correct looking output, so it thinks it's okay. The Office JS API has blind spots, the desktop client does not. So it doesn't see that circular GUI, that circular graphic that we see as human beings. It doesn't see that. So I know Claude nowadays, if you're using CoWork, sometimes it takes pictures of the screen and looks at the pictures of the screen to do its work. When you give CoWork or Claude or OpenAI or Copilot full access to your computer, it usually takes screenshots and then it kind of resolves this aspect here. Status label cells in data rows create hidden dependencies. So you didn't know a text-based status cell could create a dependency. AI repeated a flawed methodology even after direct user correction. So it was ignoring the user, which is me, the domain expert, right? So if AI eventually builds models faster, who will audit the models, right? Probably another AI, maybe an AI you've trained to be an excellent auditor, but who will audit that auditor or that audited AI? So you need to be the expert that would have to audit your models. You'll probably do a lot less work than before when it comes to the mechanical side of things, which means you spend more time with the client to get them to understand what they're using the model for. It will just enrich your output as a financial modeler. But you must learn the domain expertise. Yes. So this is a quick summary, AI across the modeling process at a glance. So defining KPIs and questions, AI capability, pretty good, helps structure questions from client context. So anytime you're doing any meetings now, I kind of advise you to have a transcript of all your meetings and then kind of feed that context into AI and have a conversation with AI, right? So pretty low risk there. Identifying model outputs, pretty low risk. You can review for completeness. Identifying key inputs, well, moderate. Can miss industry-specific drivers. There's some nuances that you will know as a modeler, so you need to do a bit more review. Develop logic and links. Struggles with complex relationships. So when you build project finance models, the most complex project finance models, those timings are super important. It just builds on its own. So it does coding, probably goes to Python, writes the Python code, and comes and puts it into a cell. That's how AI thinks, but it does it so fast, right? But we wanted to build it like Excel, where we can audit dependencies, we can see the timing flags and everything. So it will get there. I know it will get there eventually, but it still needs to. And then building the model itself, to me, unfortunately, if you get 95% over 100 in financial model build, in real life, you have failed. You need 100%. The mechanics have to be 100%. There's no choice. So I will say there's still a lot of work to do there, although it's super impressive, right? Enter data assumptions, excellent. Structured assumptions, no, really low risk there. Testing scenarios and sensitivities, moderate risk. Missing circularity, you saw the circularity issue there. That can be a big problem. So I will say you really need a lot of work there. So run independent quality checks. Then reports, documentation, and presentation, super, it does that so well. You still need to review, but it's low risk. And then finalizing and delivery helps with final checks and owns the professional responsibility, yes, but it does pretty well in those final checks. So this is the current state from my research in the last 6 months. And AI really started doing exceedingly well around December, January, when the new models started coming out, and agent mode came out for Excel with Copilot. That is when it really started kicking in. And it's just getting better and better and better, right? So AI is what you're going to use to augment, right? So without AI augmentation and with AI augmentation, this is what it looks like. So AI augmentation, hours of clients meeting notes and specific drafts. With AI augmentation, specification documents drafted from transcripts and minutes, reviewed and refined in one single session. And you can do your mapping, your driver mapping, and all of that stuff super easily, right? Without AI augmentation, manual documentation after every build cycle. With AI augmentation, documentation generated automatically, modular review and approve, or modular will review and approve. So you can see the before and the after with augmentation, error checking done entirely by hand, AI flag potential issues, modular applies judgment and domain expertise. And then difficult to scale output without growing headcount, right? You have to get new staff, a lot of new staff. Well, technically, with the same staff you have, you can probably do 5 times more. And yes, you get new staff in, but because you're already doing 5 times more, it means you're growing staff, and you're growing expertise, you're growing outputs, as in you can either reduce costs and reduce prices that you're going to charge your clients, or you can maintain the price but do 10 times more. So it's wealth for everybody. It's going to generate a lot of wealth for those that are using AI. So in AI with augmentation, competitive advantage over non-augmented pairs, yes. First draft reports really look really good with AI augmentation. So this is your before AI augmentation, after AI augmentation. So what's your path forward? I think you need to master the craft of financial modeling. Yeah, you need to be able to build models from scratch. You need to understand timing, right? So you need to be dynamic, all the dynamic links, the scenarios and everything, the combo boxes. You need to understand that big picture view well, right? Then you need to augment with AI. Learn which steps benefit most from AI and which require your judgment, practice, and specific approaches that work for financial specifications, documentation, and scenario narratives, right? Then you become the architect. So here I'm saying orchestrator, but you're really the architect. You're the orchestrator using AI, using your skill set, and just orchestrating this process of financial modeling, which is the future of financial modeling that we're going to see. So that's going to be your highest value. And that's where I think it's going to end, where 5 things to take away. AI will not replace financial modelers. It will supercharge them, right? AI excels at language, so specifications, brainstorming, documentation, communication, excellent. AI fails at complex model mechanics, right? So the timing, the dynamics, the hard coding, and circular reference issues you see, you can't afford that in your model builds. So it will help you build, to help you write Excel formulas and some other things like that, but you can't finalize the model build with AI. You just can't. You need it to you need it to help. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, let me show you one other model. Let's see, quickly put it up. Where is this model? AI did some interesting stuff. Okay, so I had this model where I want to just show you what AI did. So look at these calculations that AI did, right? It ignores left to right consistency. It just ignores these timelines. It says, hey, this is an operations calculation. So I'm just going to do it in the operations section, right, of my project finance model. But guess what? What about when my timing changes and the operations don't start at around this time, start somewhere here, right? It can't, it's not automated. So at the end of the day, when we build models, we ensure that everything is tied to timing. 100% is fully dynamic. So AI's models currently are not fully dynamic, and because of the way it builds those models. And the way it builds those models, it usually causes other issues. You can see AI building. You can see Claude is building the model right now. It has created a schedule. It has done assumptions. It has done scenario. It's going to do scenario. It has built summary sheet. Why did it do all this? Because of the instructions, right? You need a summary sheet. Can you see it's already building the model itself? You can see it has created forecasts, right? Oops, forecasts. And so we're going to do, you can see it's already built the balance sheet. Is it balanced? Let's check. Is the balance sheet balanced? Not really. It has not balanced yet. So it's still working. And in our next webinar, we're going to see a head-to-head, right? Head-to-head. So wherever you're watching this, we are going to post the link to the next webinar where you're going to see a head-to-head of Claude and OpenAI, which is Copilot, right? Copilot's use of Claude and Copilot's use of OpenAI, ChatGPT, right? So Copilot basically uses all different models, right? So it usually was OpenAI at first, really, and then now you can have as many models as you like in. We can see Claude there. So we'll see this wonderful head-to-head, and I'll be doing a commentary, right? We'll have Claude on one side, ChatGPT on one side, and we're going to put timings there, and it's going to be live. So we're going to say commentary and back and forth and see how it does, right? So you can see it's doing pretty well, but you'll see this in the next one. You see how it builds out the scenario summations and formatting and all of that. And then we will decide who wins, right? And then we'll do a little bit of audits to see who really made mistakes when it comes to a corporate finance model, which this is. But you can see project finance model, it's not there yet, all right? So I hope you've enjoyed this session, and let me finalize by saying these are your 5 things to take away. You cannot audit an AI-generated model without deep expertise, right? The time to build that expertise is now, before the gap between augmented and non-augmented modelers widens further. You need to be an augmented modeler. And that brings me to us in the Financial Modeling Institute, Financial Modeling Academy, and the sponsored by the Financial Modeling Institute. Register for our Financial Modeling Academy, because I think it's probably the cheapest way you can get this, because there's a special scholarship for residents of Africa and students. So we can teach you the expertise to become that domain expert, and you get an international accreditation, right? You get an international accreditation from the Financial Modeling Institute, right? So the Financial Modeling Institute, the exams, if I go to Advanced Financial Modeler, you will see that they do the exams, Advanced Financial Modeler exams, and yes, it's a bit pricey for Africa, and they have graciously partnered with T. Brown Consulting, where even my own course is super expensive too. So there's a course you're going to be able to get all of this for a super, super great price. So this is what you get. You basically, if I come down here, you'll see, and by the way, this price is going to change. This is the last time you're going to be able to get this price I'm going to show you. You're going to go through building a real model. We'll first teach you how to build a real 3-statement model of a real company from scratch, 7 weeks, about 6-7 weeks. You will do that. And then the last week, once you do that, you'll be able to take any financial of any company and build it from scratch. And then we will now take the last week, the FMI, the Financial Modeling Institute, will come to the online class and take you through what to expect for the exam. Once they take you through what to expect for the exam, we will then give you access to another course. We, D Brown, will give you access to a step-by-step course that will take you very granular how to do the exam in less than 4 hours. We'll also take you through this mock. You're going to do all these mock exams. You're going to have accountability partners that will help you through the process. And you get all of this: financial modeling course, the exam prep, the primer, modular primer, community access to communities, live Q&A, all worth about $2,871, including the exam. You just saw what, $725. You're getting that for $347. All of this for $347. You definitely should join. We do it only twice a year. The next cohort starts in a few weeks. So register for the next cohort. You just fill this form. This is the link. We're going to share the link, or just go to Financial Modeling Academy, D Brown, Google it. You'll be able to click, then choose which scholarship is most likely an Africa resident scholarship. Fill the form and register, and you'll join us. And at the end, we're adding the AI module, where we're going to teach you how you can augment with AI. It's going to be part of the course. So we look forward to that, and look forward to you earning the AFM certification once you register with us. Okay, so that is it. This is, will AI replace financial modelers? Nope. AI augmented financial modeler will replace a financial modeler that hasn't really augmented their financial model practice with AI. Yes, they will be replaced, but that won't be you, right? So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll hand over back to the studio. Bye-bye.